evening and welcome to First and 45 with Coach Fitz Hill tonight. I'm Dr. Drew, joined by the coach, and the bishop is AWOL tonight. He's living his best life. I'm not even sure where in the world he was tonight, but we are missing him, and we got a lot of great stuff to cover. But let me jump in here and let me open up with a word of prayer tonight, Coach. Lord, we love you. We're thankful for what you're doing. We're thankful for the places you're taking us. We're thankful for the people that you put on this planet, Lord, to serve you, love you, and chase after you. And we are praying for each and every one of them, Lord, to step into the calling that you have on their life, Lord. And we know that that calling involves bringing peace, bringing hope, bringing encouragement to all of these young people who are out there chasing the wrong things, Lord. I pray, Lord, that you'll just bless us, lead us, and guide us tonight. In your precious name, amen.
Amen, amen, amen.
And Coach, I sent you a picture today. We're going to have our own grill. No more of having to borrow the Teal grill. We're going to be out there cooking things up, doing some damage with that. But I believe we got a block party coming up at the church here pretty soon. 2 weeks?
No, this weekend. That's right. It's on and popping this weekend. The block party, baptism, man. We're going to be cooking with Lieutenant Dan and his team. We got. We'll probably be about 400 to 500. We always say 400, but then we get about 100 that we feed. Just when they smell that food walking, everybody they find it and they get in line. And hey, we're happy to serve our neighbors downtown Little Rock, and it's going to be on and popping with the kids, and baptism is backpacks giveaway and all the things that we're truly excited about.
Absolutely.
Having an opportunity to do. And I want to make mention.
And church starts at 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
on Sunday.
It's going to be on
601 Main. Is that the address?
610 Main.
610 Main. Transposing numbers here.
Yeah. And then I want to also pull up into the coming up this weekend, the Motivate One Foundation 2026 golf tournament. I talked to Moses Moody father yesterday, and he hit me this morning and said they had a few spots left for at the Maumelle Country Club. That's going to be Friday. He bringing in Steph Curry that's coming to the town with Moses Moody, and man, he's doing some great things from Workforce Village. He sent me our Workforce Joe will be out there. Our coach is there. What they're doing to really try to find ways to disengage youth through workforce opportunities. And as we talk tonight, those are ways that we see people get their lives changed around because of skills to pay the bills, as we say. And our welding coach, Joe, has shown that how that can work. He learned to weld in prison, and then how it's changed his life to now he's teaching others that skill. And man, we're really excited about what Moses is doing in the community. And you can go to eventbrite.com, and there are a few spots left for the a golf tournament that will feature Steph Curry coming into Little Rock, Arkansas from the San Francisco Bay Area.
And what was the name of the event again?
It's Motivate One Foundation Golf Tournament.
Okay, Motivate One Foundation.
It's Moses Moody. That's his foundation that he has playing for Golden State Warriors. And so he does this weekend event every year. Last year, I was able to attend with the talk show that they had with Draymond Green. And so this year, Steph has come with them. And so it's really an organization he's doing to empower back into the community, which kind of ties into his father came over last year and saw Meta, and he called yesterday and said, hey, I want to hook up afterwards and see how we can collaborate for doing that. So we're really, really excited about that. So, hey, if you Friday from 7:30 to 1:30. Want to get out there and hit it with the ballers? Hey, check out the Motivate One Foundation Golf Tournament application. That you can find that online.
Awesome. And we are thankful for all these great organizations that are truly serving our community. They're stepping up in some big ways, and the reason we kind of do this, we talk about the why all the time. Arkansas is a hunger problem, the most hungry state in the nation. We got 24 million kids growing up in homes with only one parent. Scripture tells us to care for the orphans, but we've got over 391,000 children in foster care in America right now. I think it's 3,500 here in Arkansas. 38 million Americans struggling with poverty, 17,000 kids identified as homeless right here in Arkansas, 90% of adults struggling with substance addiction first started before the age of 18. We've got the world's largest prison population. And in every Arkansan, our vision is clear. More people chasing their God-given dreams, but too often those dreams are limited not by talent, not by ambition, but by the zip code someone is born into. And that's why we're proud to host First and 45 with Coach Fitz Hill, a show dedicated to confronting the realities facing our young men. And here's the reality we can't ignore. The number one cause of death for Black men age 0 to 44 is homicide. And I think it's interesting. I saw on the news this morning, 2 20-year-olds were booked for a murder earlier this month. We saw I want to say that the young man was 18, was having a funeral this weekend, and someone came and opened fire at the funeral. Mm-hmm. This is Little Rock, Arkansas. Mm-hmm. We're not talking Chicago. Mm-hmm. We're talking about right here. We've got some problems.
Major.
And our young men are right in the middle of it. And it doesn't matter what anyone tells you about, oh, crime's down, crime's this, crime's that. Every time we lose a life here, we got a problem.
Right.
And these are young men that some of them are the pullers of the trigger, and some are the receivers of the bullet. Both of those lives are lost, and they will add no more value in the future to our society. And if we look at the total loss over the last 20 years, 30 years, it's in the 500,000+ range.
No question. Since 1950s, when you go back and look at that, and from 50 to 75 years. And that's why we continue to do that. And I know we got some new listeners out here tonight that follow me from LinkedIn that we're excited. Thank you for joining us tonight. And this is where we identify problems. In the second half, we're going to talk about solutions. But one thing I want our listeners to know that Drew and I have been on this journey since 2007 and 8, working together on this to try to not only bring the problem to fruition, but to identify solutions. And we're on our pathway now to continue trying. And what I've learned as a football coach, when you lose, you got to adjust your game plan, which is not happening in our communities, particularly in African-American communities. We're seeing what's going on. We're not changing the strategies. We're running the same plays, and we're getting the same result. And the way that in my combat experience that we won the war in the Desert Storm is that we use air, land, and sea. You have to protect the skies. You have to take over the grounds, and you have to watch the flank from the seas if you're going to win the war. And that's the way we have to combat this epidemic in the United States of America that's responsible for the highest death rate of anything that of any cause of young Black men ages 0 to 44. And we cannot stand on the sideline, and we must change the game plan. And that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to identify these things. And Drew and I have started implementing these processes that we're trying to do, but it's going to take some time. I'm saying by 2035, if we stay in this fight 10 years, we'll have a chance to see a significant decrease in the numbers. But we're going to have to be bold as Jesus was when he came to earth for the reason to die and to have life and to come back. So we may get lost in this battle, and I'm willing to do that. I'm going to tell you that.
I think it's really interesting, Coach. You put out on LinkedIn this week just a little post, and it was homicide rates in the most dangerous cities in America. Mm-hmm. And when you look at that, I mean, let me just give the top 10. Jackson, Mississippi, 53.2 deaths per 100,000 residents.
Think about that now. Now that's a crime zone.
Yep.
That's combat.
When we later we're going to talk about that compared to some of the safer cities.
Yes.
And it is going to shock some people. St. Louis, Birmingham, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Montgomery, Cleveland, Ohio, Kansas City, Detroit. Some of these, man, we know are on the list.
Yep.
Some of these, Cleveland, Ohio, what's going on there? I mean, and first off, those figures come from a bunch of different reports. They may represent different time frames, and there are various methods that data is collected. So we should not pretend that this is a perfect scientific ranking. No. We're trying to do our best here in looking at these numbers and pulling these numbers, but for the purpose of this conversation, they are a great starting point.
Very consistent
Yep.
of what I've been looking at over a period of time.
Right.
You know what I mean? And looking at, the per capita, because a lot of times people don't understand, why Chicago is not higher, even though the violence in Chicago seems to ring out louder. Well, we're looking at per capita per 100,000,
Right.
and there's a lot more people. So look, and I'm gonna tell you what's interesting. When I was I came a couple chief of police ago in Little Rock, but when he came to Arkansas Baptist College community after we had decreased crime over 50% around the car wash and those type of things, he said, how do you get people to come to the community when it has been dangerous? Because that's when in 2006, when I got there, on that corner of the car wash, there had been 36 violent crimes in that year.
Not crimes. Violent crimes.
Exactly right. Okay. Shootings and stabbings and everything. 36. So it's only 52 weeks in a year. So that's one every other week.
Yeah.
On average. You see.
And the crazy thing is at that point in time, there was the car wash and a liquor store.
And then
you had that nightclub.
And the nightclub where Darren McFadden went that night and had
shot in the foot.
So had that accident. So when you start looking at that, he said, well, how do you get people to come here? And the reason I bring this up, I say I recruit New Orleans, East St. Louis, Baton Rouge, Memphis. All of those are on the list before Little Rock.
Yep.
And so when I bring in students from those cities, they think Little Rock is safe.
and it's crazy because I think a lot of times we live in something, we become so engaged in it, we don't realize how bad it is. Until we start comparing it to other places. And that's what I've kind of done is taken these numbers for these top 10. That list has got more on it, but I just said the top 10. And then 72204, which is one of our toughest zip codes right here in Little Rock. And I mean, what I kind of wanted to look at is how many of the conditions found in America's most violent cities are already present in our own neighborhoods. And then what can we do about them?
That's it.
And so, I mean, we've got to begin, I think, with this word poverty. In Jackson, Mississippi, 28% or 27.9% of residents live below poverty line.
What percentage was that?
27.9. The median household income is $42,000. Birmingham, 24.7. Median household income, $46,000. 72204, 27%. So we're right up there with Jackson. And the median household income is $40,000, so less than both those others. Now, I want to compare this to Naperville, Illinois. This is classified as one of the lowest homicide communities in the nation. Their poverty rate is 4.4%.
Yep.
And the median household income is $155,000. So our examples of violent communities have a poverty rate 6 times that of a safe community. And in violent communities, you can expect to earn less than 25 cents on the dollar compared to a safe city. And so I think when we look at this, that there's something to be said about a poverty problem because the disparity is so large. Poverty does not make someone violent. Most people living in poverty, they're never going to commit a crime. But concentrated poverty, it's going to create pressure. It affects housing, schools, nutrition, transportation, health, employment, supervision, and hope. Poverty does not pull the trigger, but it can help create the environment in which conflict becomes more dangerous.
Poverty, that's the foundation that we continue to build on that leads to this epidemic. It's everywhere. It's like I say, if you're going to be good, you got to be good at something. Well, if you're going to be bad, poverty is going to be that factor that's leading to the crisis that we'll continue to talk about.
Absolutely. Hey, guys, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back with the numbers. Don't go away with First and 45 and Coach Fitz Hill.
Hey guys, Drew here, and for the last 11 years, we've worked together to build the Arkansas Dream Center. And over those years, things have grown, opportunities have happened, but we've continued to focus on that mission of every Arkansan chasing their God-given dream. And for that very reason, our corporation is actually known as Every Arkansan Inc. We have 2 ministries that really work together in tandem to see that mission take place. We have the Arkansas Dream Center, which is going out and we're reaching out to the communities. We're in those communities with mobile trucks. We're doing after school, we're feeding, we're doing all those things you know us for doing. But in addition, we realize that the church is the answer to a lot of society's problems, and there's one on every corner. So we have City Serve that comes along the side of the church, and they provide the resources. They provide furniture and clothing and diapers and all these things to the local churches so they can reach out to their neighbors. And together, when those two start to mesh, we're going out and we're bringing the churches alongside of them, and we're equipping and we're resourcing those churches. We can truly empower the local church with the resources they need to strengthen relationships in their communities. And that's what our vision is for Every Arkansan Inc. And we're so glad you're a part of it.
There's one thing I know.
And we are back with First and 45 with Coach Fitz Hill. During the first quarter, we started talking about poverty and its contribution to a lot of our violence issues. And the second condition I kind of want to look at is educational opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
In 72204, right here in Little Rock, approximately 89% of adults have completed high school. Only 21.9 have earned a bachelor's degree. The bachelor's degree rate across the United States is usually around 35, 36%. In our safe city, 97% have completed high school. That's Napersville again. 72% have bachelor's or higher. That's almost quadruple the rate for our most high crime cities.
Mm-hmm.
But education, I mean, it can't just be measured in diplomas, though.
Right.
Because, I mean, we've talked about this even with college anymore. There's a lot of certificate programs that are great programs that are getting people out of poverty
and getting paid.
And escape. But we got to ask whether children can read proficiently.
Bottom line.
Bottom line.
So you're going back to poverty and literacy. I'm just going to tell you right now, that has to be your core fundamental plays. If you're going to make a first down in life, you got to say, how can we escape poverty and how can we read? Reading is a basic fundamental, and God gave Moses the 10 Commandments because he knew that he could read and transcribe what was to be said to the people following. If a mother you find out is illiterate and she has an illiterate child, then the illiteracy disease is passed on and on and on, and she can't help the child read. So that's a foundation nugget that we need to make sure our people know as we fight this disease.
Yeah, and children reading proficiently leads into the next one. We got to ask whether young people are attending school consistently. When they feel disengaged, when they don't feel like they're learning anything, all of a sudden they quit attending. Then we got to look at how many are being suspended, expelled, or pushed out of classrooms before they ever reach graduation. And I understand we've got to have safe classrooms, but we've also got to look at all we're doing when we push a kid out of a classroom is pushing them somewhere else.
Correct.
A young man who cannot read has few options.
Very few.
A young man who drops out has few options. A young man who cannot find legitimate employment is going to become more vulnerable to the illegitimate economies. And I mean, when we close the door to education, the street is often waiting as the alternative curriculum.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I think Proverbs 4:7 says it best. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. And with all thy getting, get understanding. When we really look at this, education is not simply a school issue. It's a violence prevention or a violence prevention issue.
No question.
And then third on this list, neighborhood instability. Now, this one kind of came back a little bit interesting to me. In 72204, approximately 15% of housing units are vacant. Jackson, Mississippi, that number is 19%. The median value of the homeowner occupied is house in our area is $124,000, which is low. So housing isn't expensive. Approximately 58% of occupied homes are owner occupied, which means 42% are renters. So those numbers, the cost of the housing isn't a problem. The renters and home ownership isn't a problem. Home ownership alone does not create safety. Irvine, California, for example, has relatively low home ownership because the housing is extremely expensive, yet remains comparatively safe. But in many of these struggling neighborhoods, this vacant house, this abandoned property, this absentee landlord and frequent turnover weakens the connection among neighbors. We've talked before about the broken glass principle. It's the same thing. And when I moved into the neighborhood, what I call the MLK neighborhood, we had over 900 boarded up houses from 630 South.
Wow.
And when you look at that, every winter, someone gets into one of those boarded up homes and burns it down, trying to stay warm. When residents know one another, though, they're watching out. They're watching out for the children. They're watching out for any kind of unusual activity. They intervene early. I mean, you know, the nosy neighbors that are calling the cops on everything. They report danger. They protect shared spaces. But when neighborhoods become transient and disconnected, informal accountability disappears.
Yeah.
And
The hood.
And I mean, you used the car wash and you started buying up those boarded up houses and those vacant lots and cleaned them up. If it's not a vacant house, it's just an empty lot, whole lot less trouble goes on.
Yeah.
A safe neighborhood is not simply a neighborhood with police. It's a neighborhood where people know who belongs, know who is hurting, and know who needs help. And when we look at 72204 and we look at our comparable cities that are in the most violent, the number of unoccupied homes is a contributing factor, which is something that I didn't realize was was so proven. When you go to Napersville, it's almost zero. Another factor is food insecurity. And you and I have talked about this forever in everything we do. This isn't just the hungry kid on the side of the street. This is the hungry grown man that's attending college or whatever. Nationally, Feeding America estimates 44 million Americans are experiencing food insecurity in 22.
So this goes back to your deal about poverty, though, because that's when you're not eating, when you don't have and people are out, you're in that jurisdiction of poverty. So now that's food insecurity because you're in the jurisdiction of poverty.
Absolutely. And the organization reported that people facing hunger need an average of about $25 more a week to afford enough food. Poverty. In 72204 and our top 10 cities for food insecurity, those rates are double that of Napersville. Hunger does not directly cause homicide, but hunger produces that stress again. And it affects concentration, behavior, health, and family stability. A lot of our kids get in trouble. I mean, if Uncle T will tell you, it's stealing the little things because I was just a little hungry.
Yeah.
A child who's worried about tonight's dinner is not entering the classroom with the same emotional resources as a child whose basic needs are secure.
So I told you, I've shared this story before, and I want to share with our listeners. When I was on the state board visiting school, and I went to this one school here in Little Rock, and one of the kids was getting arrested. And so I asked what happened, and they said he was getting arrested for trespassing. I said, how can you get arrested for trespassing if you go to school here? He said he was suspended. And I said, so why did he come? You know why he came back? For lunch. All right, and I said, well, why would you have him arrested? Why wouldn't you just give him a sack lunch and tell him to leave? The kid is hungry. He came back to the school. The school is oftentimes
the school's getting paid for it. It's not like they're losing money on it.
And that's a refuge. And that's the thing that I want us to start looking at school as, particularly for this population that you just mentioned. That's why, I know that we're working not only at Arkansas Baptist College for the population of young men that we have, but we're looking now from K through 12 to see how can we take this, what's creating the 2%ers that I'm going to talk about in the second half. The 2%ers are being created by these foundational measures that you just spoke about. They're for kids who are born into poverty to teenage mothers, okay, and have elementary school suspensions, those factors. Those are our social factors that we must address. And the church and our social agencies must address these specific things if we want to change, because what our country is doing right now is building prisons, and you cannot get down on the state and the federal governments for building prisons to make communities safer when the community itself is not managing its people. And that's a community issue that you have to take up. So what we're saying, we want the government to come in and fix a problem. That never happened in building Black Wall Street. That's the thing. When I went to Tulsa and I look at this and I look at communities, that never happened in 1865 to 1895, 30 years where illiteracy was decreased in the African-American community, the highest of any ethnicity in the world. Now, how you going to tell? And the government had nothing to do with that.
Exactly.
Absolutely nothing. So listen, I understand the government. And I'm grateful to live in the United States of America after serving in combat and things in Desert Storm and being able to travel to third world countries and being able to see that. We're blessed here, but we have to have a civil revolution within our own community. Say this is not acceptable.
Correct.
If we want to stop this black male homicide epidemic that's responsible for the death rate and incarceration rates of our young men, which is keeping our populations from growing and keeping up with other ethnic groups.
Absolutely. And this kind of leads us to that next uncomfortable question. Many high violence cities have hundreds, sometimes thousands of churches. And the government wasn't set up to solve this problem.
Not
the
at all.
church was. And the problem may not be the absence of church buildings. The problem oftentimes is the absence of sufficient neighborhood transformation from those churches. God is a God of transformation.
No question.
He's moving. It says he's going to and fro. It doesn't say he's just staying stationary in a building somewhere. We got to be careful with church counts because a directory of churches in a neighborhood doesn't mean transformation in a neighborhood. And so I think one of the questions that we have to ask when we look at the churches in our communities, are we measuring the success of the church by how many people come inside on a Sunday or by what happens outside the church from Monday through Saturday?
Right. How are we changing people's lives?
How are we changing things? And I had a great conversation with Pastor Marius today, just talking about, we had Serve Day the other day, and how both of our hearts is, man, we want to see the whole church getting up and serving their community. James 2:15-16 asks, what good is it to offer kind words to a brother or sister who lacks food and clothing without doing anything to meet the need? Our faith has got to become action. Our churches have got to say, okay, hey, we're here, but we're going there. We're leaving these four walls. We're serving the community. We're making a difference, because the only hope in all of this is the hope of Jesus Christ.
And it's going to be tough. Because we're at war, because Satan, remember, he comes to kill, steal, and destroy. So if we just think we're going to go out there and we're going to be able to show up one day and say, oh, I checked this box, it's not going to happen. Listen, it's just like we have to be consistent in trying to change the lives of these young people in the community, from the teenage mothers. What we're going to have to stop saying is we cannot have any more children. We got to look, where are our fathers? Here are the things that must take place, the things that were taking place. Just think about this. In the 40s and 50s and into early 60s, the non-marital birth rate in the United States for African Americans was less than 20%. Less than 20%. And that's during the Jim Crow era and all the challenges that come before I was born. And now today it's as high as 74%. And these are the core factors that are birthed in the social determinants that are leading us to this epidemic. And so when we look at COVID, when we look at cancer, when we look at all these things, we study what is leading to these to these things. Hey, my dad died of cancer. My brother died of cancer. They smoke, they drink. Those things impacted their lives. I'm not going to do that because I want to be a grand coach. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And these things are happening.
Hey, and we're going to take a quick break going into halftime. But when we come back, I want to talk. The next one is father absence and family instability. We're going to get there. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with First and 45 with Coach Fitz Hill.
As a former football coach, knowing the engagement that takes place on the football field, the basketball courts, the track, baseball, outside of extracurricular activity, META is the best academic curriculum I've seen for the oftentimes socially challenged student. And glad to have a pilot program going here now with Hamilton Learning Academy, as well as juvenile detention facility, to inspire, grow hope to a population of kids who sometimes don't believe that in the United States that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is for them. And so this opportunity allows them to see that, to feel that, and to engage in that, and to leave here thinking that I can do something that maybe they didn't think they could do prior to enrolling in the Better 24 program.
All right, who's the CFO? Yeah. Come on up, come on up. Give the CFO a round of applause. All right, what's the marketing promotion team?
My name is Shania, and I make this pillow. It's a baby pillow for babies. It can be for a boy or for a girl. It's saying, be what you want to be. I really want to make a side hustle of this and like give pillows to the hospital so you don't get good rest. So like soft pillows like this.
In the future, I want to 3D print some stuff that will help us in the world. I would love to print 3 houses to help architects build real houses because there's a lot of people in the world that homeless right now, and I feel like if I'm able to print 3D houses, I feel like architects can make more houses faster.
Holy Spirit, come into my life. I know everything's gonna be alright.
And we are back with First and 45 with Coach Fitz Hill. Coach, before we went to the break, I mentioned the father absence and family instability is also something that is definitely worth an examination in this. Fatherless on a city-by-city basis, it's a hard number to kind of nail down, but we do have some estimates. In the safest city we called Naperville, fatherlessness rate was 14%.
That's it.
Birmingham is estimated at 58, Little Rock 44, Montgomery 54, all nearly 3 times higher than our safest city. And first off, many single mothers and single fathers, they're doing heroic work.
Absolutely.
We've always got to say that, but children generally benefit from stable, loving, and involved adults, especially committed fathers and male mentors. Young men need someone who teaches them how to process anger, resolve conflict, respect women, recover from failure, and understand their God-given identity. And Malachi 4:6 speaks of turning the heart of the fathers to the children and the heart of the children to their fathers. And that's more than a family verse. That's a violence prevention strategy when we look at it. And we've got our Every Arkansas Dads program. We just graduated our first cohort. But when you look at it, you were talking earlier about this generational slide of illiteracy. Mm-hmm. When mom's illiterate, there's oftentimes you see illiteracy in children. When dad's absent in one generation, it continues. And when we look at these cities that we're talking about that are the most violent, when you go back to 1960s and 50s, the father in the household numbers were dramatically different.
No question. And Drew, there's a couple perspectives on that, and I want to talk about both because as I study this phenomena, I look at the fact that in many cases the black male at the time after the civil rights laws was forced out of the house for the welfare program. And this was when our black leadership was asking the government to come in to right wrongs that have been happening. And in the process of doing that, I think we see unintended consequences in fracturing the black family, because now you're telling a woman with, if a man can't live here if he doesn't work and not bringing anything in. So now what does a mother do with 3 or 4 children, and the male here says you can't stay here or you can't be here legally? Because there was a movie about that, about him hiding in the house, and then when they come by and see, they cut off the food. So she said, you got to go. So now this male is not interacting with his children because he's trying to get the check from the government. So now we're God never intended for the government to raise children.
No.
Okay.
And the government never intended to raise children.
No question. That's what I'm saying. The unintended consequence of trying to help. And that's why, when you look back and I think back about Black Wall Street being built, and I'm thinking about the models of independencies, and I'm thinking about even Chinatown, when I think about all these communities. See, when we talk about desegregation, we never meant to fragment the communities.
Right.
And I think these are unintended consequences of what has happened. And so when you've done that, when you start moving and start thinking about this, the integration process, when you remove instructors, let me tell you, and why this is so important, as you know, I call identifiable role models. And this is a slippery slope to be able to navigate. But in order to understand it, you have to try to communicate it. When you start thinking about Black men in the classrooms, all you got to do is look at that now and look at what has happened, because doing segregation, you had that.
Yep.
And even coming out of the 70s, 80s, my seventh grade teacher in math and science were Black men. Boy, that is a rarity today.
Oh, it's beyond rarity.
Okay, you know what I'm saying? But see, they came out of that, and that's why we work. You know what you help Arkansas Baptist College do. That's why you have an honorary doctorate, because you understand the value of HBCUs in the communities and the purpose and mission that they serve. It wasn't that when we said we're going to integrate that they were no longer needed. You know, there are purposes, but what that meant is that you have the opportunities to go wherever you want to go. I went to Washita, all right, but I realized God called me here to serve. I went to University of Arkansas. I went to Northwestern State University. I have degrees from all. God called me to serve right here. And what we're saying is that you came back to Martin Luther King community to serve, to address these issues that I'm saying, that over the next 10 years, we have to focus on prevention, intervention, and diversion of these issues. And you've already mentioned the ones that we're talking about right now. The core immediate action that we must stop the bleeding in right now, listeners, hear me in the communities, take action on these three factors, is you have to reduce the poverty rate. And we know that those things are by helping those families who are suffering from the consequences of poverty. And that's what you do in feeding. I mean, right? Every day.
Absolutely.
All right. Because we realize a hungry child is a child who's not really going to make sound decisions anyway. No. And you know what happened? The trauma leads to the drama. All right. Because once you continue to, I'm hungry, I'm going to go out and do something, and then I'm going to have drama to come with that, because the poverty is oftentimes in the trauma.
Absolutely. And when we've talked recently about the lack of Black men attending HBCUs, that
all-time low.
And a few weeks ago, you had me over kind of as the orientation, as all these young men and women were coming to school. And I looked across that room, and it's a young man is searching for identity, and they're going to accept an answer from whoever's willing to give him one.
No question.
And that's what I loved that I saw in there, is you went to the highways and the byways and said, hey, where are all the young men that want to attend, but no one wants them?
Yep.
And you extended an invitation, and
let me
the storehouse was full.
And there's problems with that too, because it's not easy. Because at church, the three young men that I had with me at church Sunday, I'm dealing with issues. Because I didn't want to send them home for bad mistakes that they made. Because one was from East St. Louis, and I sit here and I said, "Listen," he said, "I don't want to go back, Coach." I said, "But you can't stay here with that behavior." And I knew you saw East St. Louis on that list.
Yep.
All right, they're right there. I know I've been there to recruit. And so what we try to do, I call the Navy SEAL tactic of survival. We go and extract them. That's what you saw. And we can't take them all, because to your point, I have no problem working with them. But I'm going to tell you what happened. And I know Mother Olivier is listening, and I do this work in the honor of Derek. And so we're having our roof redone because we're out of on 1600 on the home family. And they had yellow tape up there to not let you come around the dorm. And so Dean Miller said, "Did you feel what I felt when I saw that?" I said, "Exactly." Because the brain, my body keeps score. And when I saw that, I immediately thought of Derek. And I said, that's why this work is so important, Mother Olivier, that we have, and we won't let them forget about Derek. We, in that case, she sent a young man up from New Iberia who's in school that Coach Bailey brought up. But we are intentional about serving this population because, as you mentioned, you got the poverty, you got the teenage pregnancy, and then the next step is the elementary school suspension. And what we find out is with the young people with DYS that we've been working with over the last 9 months is that over 80% of all of those kids are in DYS come from teenage mothers.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we're going to try to find solutions to the problems, our government, which for the reasons, because of how we're going to stop the violence, that's why our prison population has grown from 300,000 in the 80s, okay, which, even in the 80s, in many of the non-marital, when you look, teenage pregnancy, non-marital birth rates then were still below 30%. So, but even then in the African-American community, it had jumped up to almost 60%, and now it continues to trend in a linear fashion. We must address that, and this is a moral issue. I was chastised by Johnny Key one time, who was secretary of the board, because I started talking about teenage pregnancy and the moral issue that it is that these things cannot be acceptable. And he said, "Well, Coach, you can't say that here." And I said, "I understand." I say, "But how are we going to fix it?"
Yeah, I mean it's a tough thing when you can't address certain things in certain populations and all of that. And when we talk about this fatherlessness thing, we get them to Arkansas Baptist and we're excited about that, but they need fathers, they need coaches, they need pastors, they need teachers, they need mentors to help shape their identity.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, this week I've been bombarded on social media with this Creators University thing that's been going on at Hendrix. And you look at this, social media and those streamers had enough influence that thousands and thousands of people migrated to Conway, Arkansas, just to be near it.
Yep.
Our young people are so desperate for acceptance and for encouragement and for someone. They're going to jump on social media. They're going to jump on that street org. They're going to do whatever it takes to find that acceptance, because we've left this giant vacuum of fatherlessness in their life.
Yep, absolutely. And we have to be able to change that. And Lieutenant Dan, as we always talk about, it's amazing what I can't say and what I can say. But as soon as you walk into prison, they give you a Bible. Now, but I can't talk about it any other time. That's why I love being at ABC, because I said, hey, we're going to have some chapel. We're going to have some praise and worship. And you just never know when that spiritual nugget may take root in that heart and start the transformation process that God needs. But if you don't have that experience and you're not sharing the word of God, it has no chance. And so when God gets ready, he can transform us all. And then as we go from the prevention, we next, and that's the 0 to 12, where we have to say, how are we positioning our youth in a preventive style that we're keeping them on track so that we can continue to help them develop their literacy and their reading skills, engage them in a positive learning environment and after school programs. That's why the extracurricular activity. Proud to hear Dean Brian Miller's back in the LRSD continue with the 16 goal program, man. Really, I had a kid tell me a few weeks ago, he said, "You don't remember me, Coach?" Yeah. I said, "No." He said, 16 gold. He said, "That program saved my life." That's exactly what he told me. And I said, he said, "I didn't have anything else to do." He said, "I've been in trouble and you told us." And I said, man, God gave me a boost of energy, man, when the young man, and he enrolled
all
in
those
school.
sleepless
all
nights.
those sleepless nights dealing with that. Hey, y'all stay tuned for the fourth quarter, 1st and 45. Coach Fitz, Dr. Drew in the house, and we'll be right back to finish strong.
Black men have so many different problems, so many different issues. Homicide rate, high incarceration rate, fatherless homes. What is America going to do about it?
What are we going to do about it? Yeah, what are we going to do about it? When I say we, I'm talking to black men. I'm asking us, what are we going to do about issues that negatively impact black men and boys to a greater degree than other demographics? Everybody knows about the homicide epidemic in this country regarding black men and boys. While comprising only 6% of the nation's population, we account for 50% of the nation's homicide victims. So what are we going to do about it? Here's another disturbing reality. While making up only 6% of the nation's population, we're about 40% of the nation's prison population. In fact, 1 in 3 black males are projected to go to jail in their lifetime. Again, I ask, what are we going to do about it? Collectively, black men have the means to solve these problems. We just don't have the mind to do so. And means without the mind is meaningless, brother. It doesn't mean a thing.
We are back for the fourth and final quarter of tonight's show with First and 45 with Coach Fitz Hill. So glad that you could hang out with us tonight, but you don't want to miss this last little bit.
Hey, so I want to tell you what I'm hoping that we do is I had the car wash. I'm really trying to plan what I'm going to call ICU. Okay. Because I want to do something to really start this rebirth that we're doing with the car wash. And so my goal I'm going to call it, when they have an IPO, initial public offering,
right?
I'm going to have an ICO, initial community offering. What I want to try to do is raise, and I'm putting together a campaign to change their car wash. I've already talked to Splash Car Wash, Mr. Stagg, and that, but I'm going to see through individuals throughout the United States of America to empower this movement, okay? And what we want to do and everything we have going, $250,000. And I want to try to find about 2,500 people, pay $100, how we want to do this deal, to come up to start this deal. And I want to launch this as a movement. I'm getting the stuff together right now, and I'm gonna pay the first $100, and we're gonna move this deal out. But I've told the students, this is what we're going to do, and this is going to be a job that we're going to take, because what I don't want one big donor. I want to show what the community can do. And this is tied into Arkansas Baptist College history, when they raised $50,000 to build Old Main back in 1884 when they started. So now, do you realize how much $50,000 was in 1884? I just want you to think about that.
I mean, number one, it's a fortune. But they raised 50,000. But I think the other side of this that was so crazy is this was coming out of slavery.
That's exactly right.
So they raised 50,000. It was a lot of money, especially when you consider they came out of slavery with nothing.
Some of them didn't even get the mule and the 40, getting mule and 40 acres. And so my deal is right now, these are the type of things that want to start. So my goal, I talked to my publicist. I said, I want to create a campaign of stock shares. Okay. But you'll get them back in heaven. Okay. You won't get your return here. All right. Because what I want to be able to do is see what a movement looks like. And there's no better way to start a movement than people to drive by and say, I invested in that. Right. See, what I realized, the classroom we will get them in the classroom, but our kids, our students can work here. And what I want to be able to do, because our activity programs are such a prominent part of what we do. Our band program, we're going to have 150 band kids this fall. Our football program, right now, over 200 students out there on the football program, so much that I'm having to go out there and help coach, all right? Our basketball, track, and all the things. Well, I want this car wash to support our athletic program so our kids can have things that's first class and they don't have to be second class. And you can do that by getting your car washed. Just think about that. All right. So that's a way you can contribute, because if you wash your car, if you don't wash your car, you don't have to. But if I can get 2,500 people to participate in this movement of writing that throughout the country, we ought to be able to do that. All right. And when we can do that, and somebody may give you 1,000. You know how it works. But we're going to do this, and I'm working with to be able to kick this off, because this is what we want to start saying that we're going to take back. We're going to put the neighbor back in the hood. We're going to address these type of issues that we're talking about. We're going to call out the ill will in our community. Fatherlessness, we don't, not only that, we're going to say, listen, get involved with your children. We want to provide the legal support to the young men that we're working with right now. I've been to court with several of our young men and trying to say, listen, don't come back here. We don't, take care, be a God-fearing man. We're trying to raise husbands, fathers and citizens and responsible citizens, but we can't do that when you're out making bad decisions, and we want to continue, to work on that. And I say that because we have a concentrated effort. Most people don't realize in that post I said that 7% of the population is responsible for over 50% of the homicides in the United States of America. But that's not even fair to me, because when we look at it, I'm in that 7%, but I'm not gangbanging, I'm not killing. That number is actually 2%. And the 2%ers, what we find out, come from these high dense areas that we're talking about. When you look at the numbers, what I'm saying, and these things are very sensitive to talk about, but they are true. And I said, if it's facts, you're not stereotyping. You're telling the truth. Right. All right. And so you build that, and what social scientists call it, is called rational discrimination. And when I read that word, I said, what? Well, rational discrimination means you're basing your mindset, your cognitive process, off things that you would normally do. If you saw several rattlesnakes over there, you would say, if I walk over there, it's very well I'm gonna be bit. All right. So that's rational. Right. To be irrational is just walk right through them and think that's gonna happen. Well, if you're coming to a community and you look down with the stats we just told you, all right, and the numbers say that Jackson, Mississippi, well, why is it one of the most dangerous per capita communities there? You have to look at the factors. And here are the things that we must look at and address and say, why are these cities over here, what can we do to address these social determinants that are leading to this high epidemic, this high black male epidemic that we're seeing, that's being high incarceration rate and high death rates? And when I look at these cities, it makes my heart grieve, because of the progress that our ancestors made to give us the opportunities in Black Wall Street, in building 9th Street on Little Rock, in North Carolina, the Black Wall Street. All those things were vibrant. Why today is Jackson, Mississippi, 82% Black, leading in that category with what we've seen historically on what we can do? Why is Montgomery, Alabama, which is 63% Black? That means we're the majority. Nobody's going to fix that. So we can't be here. We can't be here and say, well, who's going to come and say, well, you can't fix this, so we're going to do it for you. No, it's not going to happen. And so how are we going to decrease that per capita death rate that we have when we're not doing anything that's transformational? Well, we have to come in as a solutionist. And identify this. And when people start saying, well, Dr. Hill, you're not looking at this at the way it is, I said, well, listen to these facts right here. Gun deaths in the U.S. analyzing at-risk demographics in 2024, okay? Now, I want you to understand this. This is firearm-related homicide based on age group and races that took place in 2023. And so they were looking at this in 2024. Understand, from 15 to 39 years old, in that year, you had 8,799 African Americans murdered. That same year, you had 1,888 whites. Now, look at that disparity and understand how many Black people, 45 to 50 million, and how many white people, 200 million. Look at that number, and you can see the disparity. Even in 1 to 14 years old, you have 241 Blacks and 99 whites. And even from a 40 to 79 years old, where it starts equaling out to some extent, you have over 2,500 Blacks and over 1,700 whites. Well, I'm just saying, here are the things that we must understand, and we must specifically address with intentionality if we expect to be transformation in this epidemic. And so that's why we're going to work on trying to roll out at Arkansas Baptist College with our Every Arkansan partners, with our Little Rock School District, with our partners, that we can take our young people who are shown to have challenge, in their be challenged in their decision making, and how we're going to help them. We want to be able to take our boxing program with War Boxing, who's going to work with us to take, maybe, I think if I look at it right, we're looking at 10 to 15 young men, and each year it stacks. So it just continues to stack itself. So we're stacking trauma on trauma on trauma. So then when you come and look and you see these kids going to DYS, you see that they come from impoverished environment. Majority of them will come from teenage mothers. Most of them can't read at grade level. And so we suspend them. So we need to take that kid, and what we'll try to do is take that young person, particularly young men that we're dealing with, make sure we're giving them what they need, the nutrition, okay? Hey, address the poverty issues. I know, how many times have you sent food home?
Way more than we should in today's society, and way less than we need to.
Yeah, because you understand when you can understand when the kid's not getting enough to eat.
When a kid's not given enough to eat, their brain's stressed, their body's stressed, they're not thinking clearly, and the first thing that happens is that hanger takes over.
Yeah. And so those are things that you use, and we thank our supporters who allow you to do that.
Absolutely.
Which we couldn't do before we were there. That you're not going to let a kid leave there and be hungry.
Well, and I mean, I think it's important. We used to use government funding for all that, and government funding is great. It's filling in a lot of gaps, but we couldn't send food home. We couldn't make sure that little brother who couldn't come out the front door could get those meals. We had to meet certain meal categories that the kids wouldn't eat. Man, when the private donors stepped in and said, hey, feed those kids, tell them about Jesus, and do what you got to do, we cut our costs and we fed more kids. That's the power of individuals in our community. When you talk about the car wash, I mean, the government can come in and write you out a check, but that's not power.
No, that's exactly
that's strings and all kinds of other things. The power is when the people rise up and say, no more.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to do, to say, if everybody will get a piece of this stock, and then we're just going to take it back a little bit at a time. Then we do something else. Then we do something else. Then we do something else. People follow vision where the kids are. All right. And that's what we want to do now that we have the kids. So now we're expecting 600-700 kids next month. And now this is when I want to kick this off as soon as the kids come back, that you can invest in this movement with $100. All right. And the car wash will be that shining light, because I'm going to have that cross lit up there, right?
Of course you are,
I mean,
Coach.
I'm telling you, that is the light in the darkness. So when the darkness comes, the light comes on. And that's why it's called auto baptism. We baptism hearts and souls in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost right there. And so that's the why. Yeah. And when people say, yes, auto baptism, you go to church on Sunday, but we'll baptize your car on Saturday and let you come on. We're going to be baptizing Sunday here at the Dream Center. But to your point, that's exactly what we're trying to do. It's going to take individual people, not just somebody just dropping off a check.
Right.
All right. How can we be transformative in transforming our communities by each piece of the puzzle? A puzzle is a small piece, but it comes together to be shown with it.
And when there's a piece missing, you know it.
We know.
And we got a lot of pieces missing that we want to see people getting in the game and jumping out there and saying, hey, put me in, coach.
Put me in. And I think that's so important. And man, hey, thank all y'all for joining us tonight. And listen, we desire to continue to move forward in transforming our neighborhoods, to take care of the needs of others. But let me tell you, there are a couple of areas that we must continue to understand as we fight this battle, air, land, sea. I want to announce I'm excited on Monday to speak at the National Warden Association with Mr. Todd Ball. Is going to be a great in Hot Springs. Give me an opportunity to come and share with the wardens from the United States of America and let them know the stories that we're trying to do, that we can decrease recidivism in the United States of America when we touch the hearts of our young people and our adults to give them life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, what God has promised we have.
Let me pray us out, Coach. Lord, we thank you for tonight. We thank you for what you're doing, and we thank you that we have an opportunity to jump in the game. Pray for the bishop as he is out traveling, that you'll bring him back safely next week. In your precious name, amen. All right, good night, and have a great week.